Welcome back. What if the penny sitting quietly in your pocket right now could be worth far more than just 1 cent? Not because it's made of gold, not because it looks special at first glance, but because of a tiny detail most people never even notice. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that millions have seen, but very few truly understand. The 1988 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those coins that feels completely ordinary. It's small, copper-colored, and easy to overlook. But for collectors and curious minds, it holds a story that blends American history, minting quirks, and the possibility of hidden value. This coin was produced in 1988, part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series that began back in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. By the time 1988 rolled around, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for nearly 80 years, becoming one of the most recognized coins in the United States. Now here's where things get interesting. When you see a penny without a mint mark, it simply means it was struck in Philadelphia. For many years, the Philadelphia Mint didn't use a mint mark on pennies at all, so a blank space under the date is actually normal for coins like this. In 1988, billions of pennies were produced, and a large portion of them came from Philadelphia without any mint mark. That means, on the surface, this coin is not rare just because it lacks a mint mark. But as with many things in the world of coin collecting, the real story is hidden in the details. To understand why some 1988 no mint mark pennies can be valuable, you have to look beyond the date and focus on the design. On the front, or obverse, you'll see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Above his head is the word Liberty, and to the right, the date 1988. The phrase "In God We Trust" sits proudly along the top edge. On the back, or reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used from 1959 to 2008. If you look very closely, you can even see a tiny image of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a small detail that many people never notice. The coin itself is made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. This composition was introduced in 1982 to reduce production costs, replacing the older, heavier copper pennies. So by 1988, all standard pennies were already being made this way. They are lighter than older coins and have a slightly different feel, though most people can't tell the difference without comparing them side by side. So if millions of these coins exist, why do collectors care? The answer lies in errors and variations. One of the most talked about varieties for the 1988 penny involves the D mint mark style from Denver coins, but something similar in curiosity applies to Philadelphia coins too. While the no mint mark itself is common, certain subtle differences in design, die usage, and striking quality can make specific coins stand out. For example, some 1988 pennies show unusually sharp details, while others display small anomalies that hint at minting irregularities. Collectors are always searching for coins that break the rules, even slightly. A small doubling in the lettering, a faint misalignment, or an unusual surface texture can turn an ordinary penny into something special. These are known as error coins, and they are the reason people still search through rolls of pennies today. Now let's talk about value, because that's what most people are curious about. In circulated condition, a typical 1988 no mint mark penny is worth exactly 1 cent, maybe 2 or 3 cents at best. But in uncirculated condition, meaning the coin has never been used and still retains its original shine, the value can rise to a few dollars. That might not sound exciting, but it's just the beginning. If the coin has a strong strike, clean surfaces, and a high grade from a professional grading service, it can sell for $10, $20, or even $50 depending on its condition. And if you happen to find one with a recognized error or unusual feature, the value can climb much higher. There have been cases where error pennies from the late 1980s have sold for hundreds of dollars. These are not common, but they do exist. The key is knowing what to look for and having the patience to search carefully. So how do you identify a valuable 1988 no mint mark penny? Start by checking the date and confirming there is no mint mark under it. That tells you it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, examine the coin under good lighting. Look closely at the lettering, especially the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Are the edges sharp or slightly doubled? Does anything look off or unusual? Then move to the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Check the lines and details. A well-struck coin will have clear, defined features, even in the tiny columns of the memorial. If the coin looks especially crisp compared to others, it might be worth a closer look. Also pay attention to the coin's condition. Coins that are free from scratches, discoloration, and wear are always more valuable. Even a common coin can become desirable if it is in near-perfect condition. Another important step is weighing the coin. A standard 1988 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If the weight is significantly different, it could indicate an error or a different metal composition, which is something collectors pay close attention to. Of course, with valuable coins comes the risk of counterfeits or altered pieces. Some people try to modify coins to make them appear rare. That's why it's important to compare your coin with verified examples, and if you believe you found something special, consider having it authenticated by a professional grading service. Now here's a fun detail that surprises many people. The Lincoln penny is one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history, and yet small changes have been made over the decades that most people never notice. Even tiny differences in lettering style or spacing can signal a different die or production method. That's why collectors often study pennies with a magnifying glass, searching for details that others would miss entirely. Another interesting fact is that billions of pennies are still in circulation today, which means the chances of finding something unusual are small but real. Every time you receive change, there's a tiny possibility that you're holding a coin with hidden value. Collectors love the 1988 no mint mark penny not because it is rare in general, but because it represents opportunity. It's a reminder that valuable coins aren't always locked away in museums or private collections. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, mixed in with everyday change. There's also a sense of nostalgia attached to these coins. For many people, pennies from the 1980s bring back memories of childhood, of piggy banks, and of simpler times. Collecting them becomes more than just a hobby. It becomes a connection to the past. And perhaps that's the real beauty of coin collecting. It turns something ordinary into something meaningful. A single penny can carry history, artistry, and the excitement of discovery all at once. So the next time you come across a 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Hold it under the light. Examine the details. Because while most of these coins are common, a few may hold secrets that are worth far more than 1 cent, and who knows, the next coin you check might just be the one that changes how you see every piece of change forever. Welcome back. Imagine finding a simple penny in your pocket change and realizing it could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. It sounds unbelievable, but for some collectors, the 1992 Lincoln penny is exactly that kind of hidden treasure at first glance. The 1992 mint mark Lincoln penny looks completely ordinary. It's a small copper-colored coin, something most people wouldn't even think twice about. But beneath that simple appearance lies a story that has fascinated collectors for years. This coin is part of one of the most talked about modern penny varieties, and if you know what to look for, you might just spot something incredibly valuable. The 1992 Lincoln penny was produced at the Denver Mint, which is why you'll see a small D mint mark below the date on the front of the coin. Like all Lincoln cents, it features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design that has been in use since 1909. On the reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. BY 1992, the United States Mint had already been producing billions of pennies every year. These coins were made for everyday use, and most of them circulated widely, passing through countless hands. Because of this, people often assume that pennies from this era have little to no value beyond 1 cent. But sometimes, small changes during production can create rare varieties that collectors eagerly search for. The early 1990s were a time of subtle design adjustments at the U.S. Mint. One of the most important changes involved the spacing of the letters in the phrase America on the reverse of the coin. Normally, on pennies from this period, there is a noticeable gap between the A and the M in the word America. This is known as the wide AM design. However, something unusual happened in 1992. A small number of pennies were struck using a different reverse design, one where the letters A and M in America are much closer together. This is called the close AM variety, and it wasn't supposed to appear on coins from that year. The close AM design was actually intended for proof coins, which are specially made coins produced for collectors, not for general circulation. Somehow, a proof reverse die was used on regular circulation coins at the Denver Mint. This mistake created one of the most famous modern penny varieties. The 1992 D close AM Lincoln sent this tiny detail. The spacing between two letters is what transforms an ordinary penny into something extraordinary. Most people would never notice it, but for collectors, it's the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In terms of composition, the 1992 D penny is made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. This composition had been in use since 1982, when the mint switched from solid copper pennies to reduce costs. The coin weighs about 2.5 grams and has a smooth edge. There's nothing unusual about the metal itself, which is why the real value comes from the design variation. Now, let's talk about rarity. The 1992 D close AM penny is extremely rare. Only a small number have ever been discovered, and they are considered one of the key modern Lincoln cent varieties. Because so few exist, collectors are always on the lookout for new examples. Over the years, these coins have appeared at auctions and private sales, often fetching impressive prices. Depending on the condition of the coin, a genuine 1992 D close AM penny can sell for several $100s. In higher grades, especially coins that show very little wear, prices can climb into the thousands. Some examples have reportedly sold for over $10,000, making it one of the most valuable modern pennies you could realistically find in circulation. What makes this even more exciting is that these coins were released into everyday circulation. That means there's always a small chance that one could still be out there, hiding in a jar of spare change or mixed in with other pennies. So how can you tell if you have one? The key is to carefully examine the reverse side of the coin. Look closely at the word America. On a normal 1992 penny, the A and M will have a clear gap between them. On the rare close AM variety, those two letters are almost touching. You'll also want to check the initials of the designer, which appear near the base of the Lincoln Memorial. On the close AM variety, these initials are positioned slightly differently compared to the standard version. Using a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe can make it much easier to spot these details. It's important to be cautious, though, because of the value of these coins. There are sometimes altered or misidentified examples. Some people might try to pass off a regular wide AM penny as a close AM, especially if the coin is worn and the details are less clear. That's why serious collectors often rely on professional grading services to authenticate their coins. If you believe you found a 1992 D close AM penny, it's a good idea to have it examined by an expert. A certified coin not only confirms authenticity but can also significantly increase its market value. There are also a few interesting facts about this coin that make it even more intriguing. For one, the close AM variety was not widely known at first. It took years for collectors to identify and confirm the existence of these coins. Once the discovery was made, it sparked a surge of interest, with people across the country checking their pennies in hopes of finding one. Another surprising detail is how such a small mistake could go unnoticed during production. The U.S. Mint produces coins in massive quantities, and even with strict quality control, occasional errors can slip through. These rare mistakes are what make coin collecting so exciting. They turn everyday objects into pieces of history. Collectors love the 1992 D close AM penny not just because of its value, but because of the story behind it. It represents a moment when something unexpected happened during the minting process, creating a rare and collectible variety that wasn't supposed to exist. For many collectors, finding one of these coins is like discovering hidden treasure. It's a reminder that valuable items can sometimes be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a keen eye to notice them. Even if you don't find a close AM variety, the 1992 D Lincoln penny is still a piece of American history. It reflects a time when the U.S. Mint was balancing tradition with modern production techniques, continuing a coin design that has become one of the most recognizable in the world. And that's part of what makes coin collecting so appealing. Every coin has a story, whether it's about history, design, or a rare mistake that turns something ordinary into something extraordinary. So the next time you come across a handful of pennies, take a closer look. That small, seemingly insignificant coin could be more than just spare change. It could be a rare variety with a story to tell and a value far beyond its face. Because sometimes, the The most valuable treasures aren't locked away in vaults or displayed in museums. Sometimes, they're right there in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out an ordinary penny, and discovering it might be worth far more than 1 cent. Not because it's gold, not because it's ancient, but because of something so small most people overlook it every single day. Today, we're talking about the 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that millions of people have seen, but very few truly understand. At first glance, it looks like any other penny you've handled. But hidden in its simplicity is a story of history, production, and collector curiosity that might surprise you. The 1994 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. By 1994, this coin had already been in circulation for over 80 years, becoming one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The design remained familiar, with Lincoln's portrait on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a design that had been used since 1959. Now, here's where things get interesting. When people hear no mint mark, they often assume it means something rare or unusual. But in the case of the 1994 penny, a missing mint mark doesn't automatically mean a mistake. In fact, it usually means the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not include a mint mark on pennies for most of its history. So, if you have a 1994 penny with no mint mark, it was most likely made in Philadelphia. And that raises the big question. If millions of these coins were made, how can any of them be valuable? To answer that, we need to look deeper into the details that separate an ordinary coin from one that collectors are willing to pay real money for. The 1994 Lincoln penny is made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating. This composition was introduced in 1982 to reduce production costs. The coin weighs about 2.5 grams and has that familiar copper color, although over time, many of these coins darken or develop spots due to circulation and exposure. The front of the coin features the right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Above his head, you'll see the word Liberty, and to the right, the year 1994. On coins from other mints, you might see a small letter like D for Denver, but on the no mint mark version, that space is empty. Flip the coin over and you'll find the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo. If you look very closely, you can even see a tiny depiction of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. It's one of the smallest detailed elements ever included on a U.S. coin. Now, here's where value begins to emerge. While most 1994 no mint mark pennies are worth only face value, certain versions can be significantly more valuable depending on their condition and any unique characteristics they might have. Coins that have never been circulated, known as uncirculated or mint state coins, are the first category collectors look for. These coins have sharp details, no wear, and often a bright, original luster. A high-grade 1994 penny with no mint mark can sell for a few dollars, sometimes even more if it receives a high grading score from a professional grading service. But condition alone isn't what excites serious collectors. The real attention comes from errors. Mint errors are accidental mistakes that occur during the coin production process. These can include double strikes, off-center designs, die cracks, or doubled lettering. While rare, these errors can turn an otherwise common coin into something highly collectible. For example, a 1994 penny with a noticeable double die effect, where the letters or numbers appear slightly duplicated, can attract strong interest. Similarly, coins that were struck off-center, where the design is shifted away from the middle, can be worth far more than face value. There have also been cases of coins with die cracks, which appear as raised lines across the surface, or coins with unusual surface textures caused by worn or damaged dies. These imperfections, while technically mistakes, are exactly what makes certain coins stand out high in the world of coin collecting. Rarity doesn't always mean low production numbers. Sometimes it means how few coins have survived in exceptional condition or how uncommon a specific error is. When it comes to real-world value, most circulated 1994 no mint mark pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. But uncirculated examples can sell for anywhere from a few dollars to around $10 or $20, depending on their quality. Error coins, however, can go much higher. Some verified error pennies from the 1994 series have sold for $50, $100, or even more, depending on the type and visibility of the error. While these are not everyday finds, they do exist, and they are still being discovered by collectors and everyday people checking their spare change. So how can you tell if your 1994 penny is worth more than face value? Start by examining the coin under good lighting. Look closely at the date and the word Liberty. If you notice any doubling or unusual thickness in the letters, that could be a sign of a double die. Next, check the overall alignment of the design. If the image appears off-center, even slightly, it could be an off-center strike. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable it could be. Also pay attention to the surface. Look for cracks, raised lines, or unusual textures that don't look like normal wear and tear. These could indicate die errors. Weight can also be a clue. While most 1994 pennies weigh about 2.5 grams, any significant difference could suggest something unusual. Although this is less common, it's also important to be cautious. There are many altered coins in circulation, where damage or modifications are mistaken for mint errors. A genuine error will have a natural, consistent appearance, while damage often looks irregular or forced. If you believe you have something special, consider having the coin evaluated by a professional grading service. They can confirm authenticity, assign a grade, and sometimes increase the coin's value in the eyes of collectors. Here's something many people don't realize. Even though the 1994 penny is relatively modern, it represents a transitional era in U.S. coin production. By the 1990s, the mint had fully adapted to cost-saving measures, automation, and high-speed production, which increased the chances of minor errors slipping through. Another interesting detail is how these coins age. Because they are made mostly of zinc, they are more prone to corrosion if the copper coating is damaged. This is why finding a 1994 penny in perfect condition today is harder than you might think. Collectors often look for coins with a bright red color, known as red or RD coins. These have retained their original copper shine and are considered more desirable than darker or spotted coins. You might also be surprised to learn how many people have valuable coins sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, or old collections. Pennies are often ignored because of their low face value, but in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest denomination can hold hidden potential. The 1994 no mint mark penny may not be the rarest coin ever made, but it represents something important. It shows how even the most common objects can carry history, craftsmanship, and the possibility of discovery. Collectors love this coin not because it's rare in every form, but because it invites curiosity. It encourages people to look closer, to pay attention to details, and to understand the story behind everyday items. There's a certain thrill in searching through coins, knowing that one small detail could turn an ordinary penny into something worth keeping, or even selling, and that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. It's not just about money. It's about history, discovery, and the idea that something valuable could be hiding in plain sight. So the next time you come across a 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Examine the details. Because while most of these coins are common, a few of them carry something extra, something that sets them apart. And who knows, the next valuable coin might already be in your pocket, waiting for you to notice it. Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and discovering that it might be worth far more than 1 cent. Not because it's gold, not because it's ancient, but because of a tiny detail most people never even notice. Today, we're uncovering the hidden story of the 1995 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin millions have seen, but very few truly understand at first glance. The 1995 Lincoln penny looks completely ordinary. It features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that has been part of American coins for generations. On the back, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of history and unity. It's the kind of coin you might ignore in your change, drop into a jar, or spend without a second thought. But beneath that ordinary appearance lies a story filled with subtle details, collector interest, and surprising value. To understand this coin, we need to go back to 1995. During that year, the United States Mint produced billions of pennies to keep up with everyday demand. Most of these coins were struck in Philadelphia and Denver. Coins made in Denver carry a small D mint mark. But coins produced in Philadelphia, like the one we're focusing on, often have no mint mark at all. That's what no mint mark means. It doesn't mean the coin is missing something by mistake. It simply means it was made in Philadelphia. In 1995, the Philadelphia Mint produced a massive number of pennies, well into the billions. These coins were made primarily for circulation, meaning they were intended to be used in daily transactions. They were never meant to be rare or special. But over time, collectors began paying closer attention to small variations and errors within these coins. And that's where things start to get interesting. Let's talk about what this coin is made of. By 1995, Lincoln pennies were no longer made mostly of copper. Instead, they were composed of a zinc core with a thin copper coating. This change had been made years earlier to reduce production costs. So while the coin looks like copper, it's actually mostly zinc inside. This detail may seem small, but it plays a role in how the coin ages, how it wears down, and even how certain errors appear. Now, let's take a closer look at the design. On the front, or obverse, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's profile facing right. Above his head is the word Liberty, and in front of him is the year 1995. Below the year, you'll notice there is no mint mark. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial stands in the center, with United States of America above it and 1 cent below. If you look very closely, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. So what makes a 1995 no-mint mark penny valuable? After all, billions were made. The answer lies in condition and errors. Most of these pennies are only worth face value. But certain examples, especially those with unique characteristics, can be worth much more. One of the most famous varieties from 1995 is the double die obverse error. This occurs when the coin's design is stamped more than once in slightly different positions, creating a noticeable doubling effect. On some 1995 pennies, you can see this doubling clearly in the word Liberty and in the date. The letters may appear slightly blurred or doubled, almost like a shadow. This error wasn't intentional, and that's exactly why collectors find it so fascinating. Coins with a strong double die error from 1995 can be worth hundreds of dollars, even thousands in exceptional condition. For example, a well-preserved 1995 double die penny has been sold for over $1,000 at auction. That's a huge jump from just 1 cent, all because of a small minting mistake. Even without the double die error, the condition of the coin plays a big role in its value. Coins are graded on a scale, with higher grades representing better condition. A 1995 no-mint mark penny in average circulated condition is usually worth just a few cents. But if you have one in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used and still has its original shine, it could be worth several dollars. And if it's in near-perfect condition, professionally graded at the highest levels, it might sell for even more. Now you might be wondering, how can you tell if your 1995 penny is special? The first step is to look closely at the details. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Check the word Liberty and the numbers in the date. If you see clear doubling, you may have the valuable error variety. Next, examine the overall condition. Look for scratches, discoloration, or signs of wear. The cleaner and sharper the coin looks, the more valuable it could be. It's also important to be careful about fakes or misleading claims. Some people may try to sell ordinary pennies as rare ones by exaggerating their value. A true double die error will have consistent and visible doubling, not just random marks or damage. If you're unsure, you can compare your coin to verified examples online or have it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. Here's a surprising fact. Even though billions of these pennies were made, very few people took the time to examine them closely. That means valuable error coins may still be out there, hiding in old jars, drawers, or collections. It's entirely possible that someone could have a rare 1995 penny without even realizing it. Another interesting detail is how these coins have aged over time. Because they are made with a zinc core, they can develop small bubbles or corrosion if the copper coating is damaged. This doesn't usually increase value, but it does make each coin unique in its appearance. Some collectors even find these imperfections interesting, as they tell a story of the coin's journey through circulation. Collectors love the 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln penny for several reasons. First, it's accessible. You don't need to spend a fortune to start looking for one. Second, it offers the thrill of discovery. The possibility of finding a valuable error coin in everyday change is exciting. And third, it connects people to history, Even a modern coin like this represents a moment in time, a snapshot of American currency in the mid-1990s. There's also a psychological appeal. People enjoy the idea that something small and overlooked could hold hidden value. It turns an ordinary object into a potential treasure. That's what keeps collectors searching, learning, and sharing their discoveries. Over the years, stories have surfaced of people finding valuable coins in the most unexpected places. A penny found in a parking lot, a coin picked up from a cashier, or even one discovered in an old piggy bank. These stories remind us that valuable coins aren't always locked away in vaults. Sometimes they're right in front of us. As we come to the end of this story, think about the coins you've handled in your own life. How many pennies have passed through your hands without a second thought? How many of them could have held a hidden detail, a small error, or a higher value than you ever imagined? The 1995 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny may not look special at first glance, but it represents something bigger. It shows how attention to detail can reveal hidden opportunities. It reminds us that value isn't always obvious. And it invites us to take a closer look at the ordinary things around us. So next time you receive a penny, don't ignore it. Take a moment, look closely, because that simple coin might just have a story waiting to be discovered. Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and realizing that this tiny coin might be hiding a story far more valuable than its 1 cent face value. What if a coin from 1997, something many people still overlook today, could actually be worth far more than you think? Today, we're diving into the 1997 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but carries history, detail, and in some cases, surprising value. The 1997 D. Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, one of the most recognized coins in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, this coin became the first U.S. currency to feature a real person. By 1997, the design had already been in circulation for nearly 9 decades, making it a familiar piece of everyday life for millions of Americans. The D Mint mark on this penny tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint. In 1997, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies, making this coin extremely common in terms of overall mintage. But here's where things get interesting. Even among coins produced in massive numbers, certain pieces stand out due to condition, errors, or unique characteristics. Let's talk about what this coin actually looks like. On the front or obverse, you'll see the classic profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right. Above his head is the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left is the word liberty, and to the right is the year 1997, along with the small D mint mark just below the date. On the back or reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used from 1959 until 2008. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny image of the Lincoln statue inside the memorial, a detail many people miss. In terms of composition, the 1997 penny is made mostly of zinc with a thin copper plating. This change happened in 1982, when rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to switch materials. So while the coin looks like solid copper, it's actually about 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper on the outside. Now you might be wondering, if billions of these coins were made, how could any of them be valuable? The answer lies in condition and errors. Most 1997 D pennies you find in circulation are worth exactly 1 cent. But coins that have never been used, known as uncirculated coins, can be worth more. If a 1997 D penny is in near-perfect condition, with sharp details, no scratches, and full original shine, collectors may pay several dollars for it. And in the highest grades, certified by professional grading services, some examples have sold for significantly higher amounts. But the real excitement comes from error coins. Error coins are mistakes made during the minting process, and they can turn an ordinary penny into something special. With the 1997 D. Lincoln penny, collectors have reported several types of errors. These include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned on the coin. There are also double die errors, where parts of the design appear slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the die creation process. Another interesting error is the broad strike, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out and lose its normal shape. These types of errors are rare compared to the total number of coins produced, which is why collectors are willing to pay much more for them. For example, a 1997 D penny with a strong off-center strike can sell for anywhere from $20 to over $100, depending on how dramatic the error is. A well-preserved double die example can also bring in a solid premium. And in rare cases, high-grade coins with exceptional eye appeal have reached even higher prices at auction. Now let's talk about how you can tell if your 1997 D penny is worth more than face value. First, check the condition. Hold the coin under a light and look for shine. A valuable coin should have minimal wear, with clear details on Lincoln's face and the Lincoln Memorial. If the coin looks dull, heavily scratched, or worn down, it's likely only worth a cent. Next, examine the mint mark. Make sure the D is clearly visible and not altered. Counterfeit coins are rare for this specific year, but it's always good to be cautious. Look for consistency in the lettering and spacing. A genuine coin will have clean, precise details. Then, look closely for errors. Use a magnifying glass if possible. Check the edges of the letters and numbers. Do you see any doubling? Is the design slightly off-center? Does the coin look wider or thinner than normal? These small details can make a big difference. Another tip is to weigh the coin. A standard 1997 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If it's significantly heavier or lighter, it could indicate an unusual variation or an error. Now here's something surprising. Even though this coin is not considered rare in general, many people overlook the fact that millions of these pennies are lost, damaged, or destroyed over time. That means high-quality examples become harder to find as the years go by. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything, and time naturally reduces the number of well-preserved coins. There's also a psychological aspect to collecting. Coins like the 1997 D penny are often the first step for beginners. They are easy to find, affordable, and full of learning opportunities. For many collectors, discovering a valuable coin in everyday change is what sparks a lifelong passion. Another fun fact is that the Lincoln penny is one of the most collected coins in the United States. Generations of collectors have searched through rolls of pennies, hoping to find something special. The 1997 D penny may not be the rarest, but it still plays an important role in that ongoing story. Collectors today appreciate this coin not just for its potential value, but for what it represents. It's a piece of history from the late 1990s, a time before digital payments became dominant, when cash was still a central part of daily life. Holding this coin is like holding a small piece of that era. And let's not forget, every coin has a journey. Your 1997 D penny might have passed through countless hands, traveled across states, or sat quietly in a jar for years. Each mark and detail tells part of that story, so why do collectors continue to hunt for this coin? Because in the world of coin collecting, value is not just about rarity. It's about discovery, condition, and the thrill of finding something unexpected. A simple penny can turn into a valuable collectible if it has the right combination of features. Before we wrap up, here's one more thing to think about. Right now, there are still countless 1997 D pennies in circulation. That means the next valuable one could be sitting in your pocket, your drawer, or even your car's cup holder. Most people will never take a second look, but you now know what to watch for. So the next time you come across a penny, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Check the date, the mint mark, the condition, because sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest surprises. And who knows, the next time you hear that familiar clink of change, you might just be holding more than 1 cent in your hand. Welcome back. Imagine pulling a simple penny from your pocket and realizing it might be worth far more than 1 cent. Not because it's old, not because it's gold, but because of what's missing. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1998 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, yet holds surprising secrets that collectors quietly search for every day. At its core, the 1998 Lincoln penny is part of one of the most familiar coin series in American history. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation since 1909, created to honor President Abraham Lincoln. By 1998, billions of these pennies were produced, and most people never gave them a second thought. They passed through hands, cash registers, and jars without anyone noticing anything special. But here's where things get interesting. Some 1998 pennies don't carry a mint mark. And that small detail can completely change how collectors view the coin. To understand why that matters, you need to know how US coins are made. Coins are produced at different mint locations, primarily Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most modern coins include a small letter called a mint mark that tells you where the coin was made. For example, a D means Denver and an S means San Francisco. But in 1998, pennies struck in Philadelphia did not include a mint mark at all. That means a 1998 penny with no mint mark wasn't a mistake. It was actually produced that way on purpose. And because Philadelphia produced a massive number of pennies that year, millions of these coins exist. So if they're so common, why are people talking about them? The answer lies in the details. While most 1998 no mint mark pennies are only worth face value, a small number of them have unique features or errors that make them highly collectible. And it's those rare variations that turn an ordinary coin into something much more valuable. Let's talk about the coin itself. The front, also known as the obverse, features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing to the right. Above his head, you'll see the words, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word "Liberty." And to the right, the year 1998. If there's no letter under the date, that means it came from Philadelphia. On the back, or reverse, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial design, which was used from 1959 until 2008. If you look very closely, you can even spot a tiny image of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, one of the smallest details ever placed on a circulating coin. In terms of material, the 1998 penny is made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. This composition was introduced in 1982 to reduce costs, replacing the older solid copper coins. That means these pennies are lightweight compared to earlier versions, and they have a slightly different tone when dropped. Now, here's where collectors start paying close attention. Certain 1998 no mint mark pennies show what's known as die errors. These are mistakes that happen during the minting process, often caused by worn or damaged equipment. One of the most talked about varieties is the wide AM reverse. Normally, in the phrase America on the back of the coin, the letters A and M are very close together. But on some rare 1998 pennies, there is a noticeable gap between those letters. This is called the wide AM variety, and it wasn't supposed to be used on standard circulation coins. This happened because of a mix-up at the mint, where proof coin dies were accidentally used for regular production. Proof coins are specially made for collectors, and they often have slightly different design features. When those dies were used for regular pennies, it created a rare and collectible variation. And here's the exciting part. A 1998 no mint mark penny with a wide AM can be worth far more than 1 cent depending on its condition. It could sell for anywhere from a few dollars to several $100s. In high-grade condition, some examples have even reached prices above $1,000 at auction. Think about that for a moment. A coin that most people would ignore could actually be worth hundreds of dollars, just because of a small spacing between two letters. There are also other minor errors to look for. Some coins show doubling in the lettering, where parts of the design appear slightly duplicated. Others may have off-center strikes, where the design isn't properly aligned. While these errors are less common, they can still add value depending on how visible and dramatic they are. Of course, not every 1998 no mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, the vast majority are still only worth 1 cent. Condition plays a huge role in value. Coins that are worn, scratched, or damaged will usually not attract collectors. But coins that are in near-perfect condition with sharp details and no signs of wear can be much more desirable. Collectors use a grading system to evaluate coins, ranging from poor condition all the way up to mint state. A coin in mint state condition looks almost exactly like it did when it left the mint, with no visible wear and strong luster. These are the coins that can command higher prices. So how can you tell if your 1998 penny is special? Start by checking the date and mint mark. Make sure it says 1998 and does not have a letter under the year. Then, look closely at the word America on the back. Use a magnifying glass if you can. If the A and M are clearly separated, you might have a wide AM variety. Next, examine the overall condition. Is the coin shiny? Are the details sharp? Are there any unusual marks or doubling? The better the condition and the more noticeable the error, the more valuable the coin could be. It's also important to be cautious. Because valuable coins attract attention, there are people who try to alter coins or misrepresent them. For example, someone might try to modify the spacing of letters to make a coin look like a wide AM. That's why serious collectors often rely on professional grading services to verify authenticity. These services examine the coin under controlled conditions and assign it an official grade. They also confirm whether the coin is genuine and whether any errors are real. While this process can cost money, it can also give you confidence if you believe you have something valuable. Now, let's talk about some real-world examples. Over the years, collectors have discovered 1998 wide AM pennies in everyday circulation. Some were found in pocket change, others in old coin jars. In one case, a high-grade example sold for several $100s, simply because it had the right combination of rarity and condition. Stories like these are what make coin collecting so exciting. The idea that something valuable could be hiding in plain sight keeps people searching. It turns an ordinary activity, like checking your change, into a kind of treasure hunt that here's a fun fact. The Lincoln penny is one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history, and it has gone through several changes over the years. But even within a single year like 1998, small variations can create entirely new categories for collectors. Another surprising detail is how many people overlook these coins. Millions of 1998 pennies are still in circulation today, and most people don't check them closely. That means there's always a chance that a rare variety is still out there, waiting to be discovered. Collectors love coins like the 1998 no mint mark penny because they combine accessibility with mystery. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars to start looking. You just need curiosity, patience, and a sharp eye for detail. There's also something deeply satisfying about finding value in something so small and ordinary. A penny is often seen as the least important coin, something people leave behind or ignore. But in the world of collecting, even a single cent can tell a story, and sometimes that story is worth far more than its face value. And that's really what makes this coin special. It's not just about money. It's about discovery, history, and the idea that hidden details can change everything. So the next time you come across a 1998 penny, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check for that missing mint mark. Examine the spacing of the letters, because you never know. That small piece of copper-coated zinc in your hand might be more than just spare change. It might be a quiet reminder that even the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary value, if you know where to look. Welcome back. Imagine pulling a simple penny from your pocket, something most people would ignore, and discovering that it might be more special than it looks. What if that ordinary coin, dated the year 2000, could carry hidden details, collector demand, and even unexpected value? Today, we're diving into the story of the 2000 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that millions have seen, but very few truly understand at first glance. The 2000 penny doesn't seem unusual. It's part of everyday pocket change, something people spend without thinking twice. But when you notice that it has no mint mark, it raises a question. Where was it made, and does that make it rare? To understand this, we need to go back to the year 2000. This was a time of excitement and transition. A new millennium had just begun, and the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to meet demand. The Lincoln penny, first introduced in 1909, was still one of the most widely used coins in circulation. By 2000, it had already become a symbol of American history, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. The no mint mark on a 2000 penny simply means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For many years, coins from Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark at all. So unlike coins from Denver, which have a small D, or San Francisco, which use an S, Philadelphia coins often appear plain. This leads many people to believe that a missing mint mark might be an error, but in most cases, it is completely normal. Still, that doesn't mean every 2000 no mint mark penny is ordinary. Let's talk about its features. The 2000 Lincoln penny is made mostly of zinc, with a thin outer layer of copper. This composition was introduced in 1982 to reduce costs. The coin weighs about 2.5 grams and has a smooth edge. On the front, you'll see Lincoln's profile, along with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the year 2000 to the right on the back. The Lincoln Memorial stands proudly, and if you look closely, You can even see a tiny image of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial. It's one of the most detailed designs ever used on a US coin, even though most people never notice it. Now here's where things get interesting. While most 2000 no-mint mark pennies are very common, certain variations and errors can make them valuable. Collectors often search for coins with striking mistakes. These errors can happen during the minting process and may include double dies, off-center strikes, or unusual surface textures. A double die error, for example, causes the design to appear slightly duplicated, especially in the lettering. If you spot clear doubling in the words or numbers, you could be holding something special. Another valuable variation involves coins with an unusually strong or sharp strike. These coins show finer details than normal, making Lincoln's features and the memorial stand out more clearly. Collectors love these high-quality examples, especially when they are in near-perfect condition. Condition plays a huge role in value. Most pennies in circulation are worn down over time, but if you find a 2000 no-mint mark penny that looks almost brand new, with its original shine intact, it could be worth much more than 1-cent coins graded as mint state, meaning they have never been circulated, are especially desirable. Let's talk about real value. In most cases, a standard 2000 no-mint mark penny is worth exactly 1 cent. However, uncirculated versions can sell for a few dollars, depending on their condition. If the coin has a strong strike and minimal marks, collectors may pay even more. Now, if you add an error into the mix, the value can jump significantly. Some error coins from the year 2000 have sold for anywhere from $20 to over $100, depending on the type and visibility of the mistake. Rare and dramatic errors, especially those verified by professional grading services, can reach even higher prices. So how do you know if your coin is real or valuable? Start by checking the basics. Look at the date and confirm it says 2000. Then examine the area below the date. If there's no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia, which is normal. Next, inspect the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for any unusual features like doubling in the letters, misaligned designs, or odd textures. Pay close attention to the coin's condition. Is it shiny, or does it look worn? Are there scratches, or does it appear clean and crisp? The better the condition, the higher the potential value. If you believe you've found something unusual, it might be worth getting it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. These experts can confirm whether your coin has an error and assign it a grade, which helps determine its market value. Here's something surprising. Even though billions of these pennies were made, very few survive in perfect condition. That's because most were immediately put into circulation and used daily. Finding one that has been preserved for over 2 decades without damage is actually quite rare. Another fun fact is that many collectors enjoy searching through rolls of pennies from banks, hoping to discover hidden treasures like this. It's a hobby known as coin roll hunting, and it has led to some incredible finds over the years. You might also be surprised to learn that some people overlook these coins completely, assuming that anything modern can't be valuable. But the truth is, even recent coins can hold hidden worth if they have the right combination of condition, rarity, and error. Collectors today love the 2000 no-mint mark penny not because it is rare in general, but because it represents opportunity. It's a reminder that valuable coins aren't always locked away in museums or passed down through generations. Sometimes, they're hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. There's also a sense of nostalgia attached to coins from the year 2000. For many people, it marks a significant moment in time, the start of a new era. Holding a coin from that year can feel like holding a small piece of history, and that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. It's not just about money. It's about stories, details, and the thrill of discovery. A single penny can carry decades of history and a mystery that invites you to look closer. So the next time you come across a 2000 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a moment to examine it. Look for those tiny details that most people miss, because hidden within something so ordinary could be a small but exciting piece of value. And who knows, the next coin you find might not just be spare change. It might be the start of your own collection, or even a discovery that surprises you. Keep your eyes open, keep searching, and remember, sometimes the smallest coins hold the biggest stories. Welcome back. Imagine holding a simple penny in your hand, something most people would ignore or even toss aside. But what if that tiny copper coin quietly carried a story, a history, and in some cases, a value far beyond 1 cent? Today, we're uncovering the hidden truth behind the 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that looks ordinary but has details that collectors watch very closely. At first glance, the 2001 Lincoln penny doesn't seem special. It's a small, familiar coin featuring the profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, just like millions of other pennies. But what makes this coin interesting is something many people don't even notice: the absence of a mint mark. That tiny missing letter can raise questions, spark curiosity, and even create confusion among collectors and everyday people alike. To understand this coin, we need to go back to the year 2001. The United States Mint was producing billions of pennies every year to meet circulation demands. These coins were made primarily at two major minting facilities, Philadelphia and Denver. Normally, coins from Denver carry a small D mint mark, while coins from Philadelphia often have no mint mark at all. So when you see a 2001 penny without a mint mark, it usually means it was made in Philadelphia. But here's where things get interesting. While having no mint mark is normal for Philadelphia coins, many people mistakenly believe that a missing mint mark automatically makes a coin rare or valuable. This has led to a lot of confusion and sometimes even inflated expectations. However, the real story of the 2001 no mint mark penny goes deeper than that. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. The front, known as the obverse, features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909 to celebrate his 100th birthday. Above his head, you'll see the words, "In God We Trust." To the left is Liberty, and to the right is the year 2001. If there's no letter under the date, that's your no mint mark coin. On the reverse side, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial design, which was used from 1959 to 2008. If you look closely at the memorial, you can actually see a tiny image of Lincoln seated inside the building. It's a small detail, but it shows the incredible craftsmanship that goes into even the most common coins. Now let's talk about what the coin is made of. By 2001, pennies were no longer made primarily of copper. Instead, they were composed of a zinc core with a thin copper coating. This change was made in 1982 to reduce production costs. As a result, the 2001 penny has a lighter weight and a slightly different feel compared to older, solid copper coins. So, if this coin is so common, why are people interested in it? The answer lies in condition and errors. While billions of 2001 pennies were produced, very few remain in perfect, uncirculated condition. Coins that were never used in everyday transactions, with sharp details and no wear, can be worth more to collectors. Even more exciting are error coins. These are coins that were accidentally produced with mistakes during the minting process. For the 2001 no mint mark penny, collectors look for errors like off-center strikes, double dies, or unusual surface marks. A double die error, for example, can cause the lettering or numbers to appear slightly doubled, and these coins can be significantly more valuable. There have been cases where high-grade 2001 pennies, especially those graded by professional services, have sold for surprising amounts. While a typical circulated 2001 penny might still be worth just 1 cent, a pristine, uncirculated version could sell for a few dollars, sometimes even more if it has exceptional quality. And if a rare error is present, the value can jump dramatically, sometimes reaching tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on the uniqueness of the error. But here's an important point. Not every 2001 no mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, most of them are very common. The key difference lies in condition and rarity. This is where many people make mistakes, assuming that any old penny without a mint mark is worth a fortune. Understanding the details is what separates a casual observer from a knowledgeable collector. So how can you tell if your coin is special? First, check the condition. Look at the surface carefully. Is it shiny and clean, or is it worn and scratched? Coins that look almost brand new, with strong details and no damage, are more desirable. Next, examine the lettering and numbers. Use a magnifying glass if possible. Look for signs of doubling, unusual spacing, or anything that seems out of the ordinary. Weight can also be a clue. A standard 2001 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If it's significantly heavier or lighter, it could indicate an error or even a counterfeit. While fake pennies are not very common, it's still important to be cautious, especially if someone is claiming a coin is extremely valuable. Another tip is to compare your coin with verified examples. Professional grading companies often provide images and descriptions of certified coins. This can help you understand what a high-quality or error coin looks like. If you believe your coin might be valuable, getting it evaluated by a professional can provide clarity and prevent costly mistakes. Now let's explore some fun facts about this coin. Did you know that pennies are one of the most widely produced coins in the United States? In 2001 alone, billions were minted. That means there are still countless 2001 pennies in circulation today, possibly sitting in jars, drawers, or even lost between couch cushions. Another interesting detail is how the Lincoln Memorial design connects history in a subtle way. The front shows Abraham Lincoln, and the back shows the building dedicated to him. It's one of the few coins where the same person appears on both sides, even if one is hidden in tiny detail. Collectors also enjoy the thrill of searching through everyday coins, a practice known as coin roll hunting. It involves going through rolls of pennies from banks in hopes of finding rare or interesting pieces. The 2001 no-mint mark penny often shows up in these searches, and while most are common, the excitement comes from the possibility of discovering something unusual. So why do collectors still care about a coin like this? It's not just about value, it's about the story. Every coin represents a moment in time, a piece of history that has passed through countless hands. The 2001 penny reflects an era of modern minting, economic changes, and the everyday transactions of millions of people. For some collectors, it's about building a complete set, including every year and variation. For others, it's about finding the best possible example of each coin. And for many, it's simply the joy of discovery, the idea that something small and overlooked could turn out to be meaningful. As we come to the end of this journey, think about the coins you carry every day. That small, ordinary penny might not seem important, but it holds a story that connects history, craftsmanship, and human curiosity. The 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln penny may not always be rare, but under the right conditions, it can become something special. And the next time you come across a penny, take a closer look. Because hidden in plain sight, there might just be a detail that turns an ordinary coin into an extraordinary find. Welcome back. What if the small, ordinary penny sitting in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 1 cent? And you didn't even realize it. Today, we're uncovering the story behind the 2006 mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that most people overlook, yet one that continues to spark curiosity among collectors across America. At first glance, the 2006 Lincoln penny looks just like any other modern penny. It's small, copper-colored, and easy to ignore. But this coin carries history, hidden details, and in some rare cases, surprising value. Understanding what makes it special starts with knowing exactly what it is. The 2006 penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which is what the small D mint mark under the date represents. It is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, one of the most iconic coin designs in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, this series has continued for over a century, making it one of the most collected coins in the United States. By 2006, the Lincoln penny had already gone through several design changes on the reverse side, but the obverse, or front, still featured the familiar portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. The reverse side at that time displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been used since 1959. So when you hold a 2006 penny, you're holding a piece of a design tradition that spans generations. Now let's talk about why this coin was made in the first place. In 2006, pennies were still widely used in everyday transactions. Despite inflation and debates about eliminating the penny altogether, the U.S. Mint continued producing billions of them each year. The Denver Mint alone struck a massive number of these coins, meaning that in general, the 2006 penny is not considered rare in typical circulated condition. But here's where things start to get interesting. Even though millions, actually billions, were produced, not all 2006 pennies are equal. Some have unique features, errors, or exceptional conditions that can make them stand out dramatically from the rest. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. The 2006 penny is made primarily of zinc, with a thin copper plating. Since 1982, Most US pennies have used this composition instead of being made mostly of copper. This means the coin has a lighter weight and a different durability compared to older pennies. On the front, you'll see Lincoln's profile facing right, along with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 2006 to the right, followed by the small D mint mark. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial is centered, with United States of America above, E pluribus unum at the top, and 1 cent at the bottom. It's a simple design, but simplicity can sometimes hide valuable details. One of the biggest reasons collectors pay attention to the 2006 D penny is the possibility of mint errors. Errors happen during the coin production process, and they can turn an ordinary coin into something truly special. Some known error types for modern pennies like this include double die errors, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment during striking. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin design is not properly centered, creating a dramatic and unusual appearance. Another type is die cracks or cuds, where parts of the die break and leave raised marks on the coin. Even small errors can increase a coin's value, but more dramatic errors can lead to serious interest from collectors. Condition is another major factor. Most 2006 D pennies have been heavily circulated, meaning they show wear, scratches, and dull surfaces. But coins that are in uncirculated or mint state condition can be worth more, especially if they have a strong, sharp strike and a clean, shiny surface. Grading plays a huge role here. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher numbers representing better condition. A 2006 D penny graded MS 65 or higher can already be considered desirable to collectors, especially if it has a bright, original luster. Now you might be wondering, has this coin ever sold for significant money? In most cases, a regular circulated 2006 D penny is worth exactly 1 cent. However, when you start looking at high-grade examples or coins with errors, the story changes. There have been cases where high-grade 2006 D pennies, especially those graded MS 67 or higher, have sold for tens or even over $100. Coins with noticeable errors can sell for even more, depending on the rarity and visual appeal of the mistake. For example, a well-preserved, high-grade coin with strong eye appeal might attract competitive bidding among collectors. And if that coin also features a visible mint error, its value can increase significantly. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's not just about the coin itself, but about finding something unusual within something ordinary. But how can you tell if your 2006 D penny is real or valuable? First, check the mint mark. It should be a small, clear D located just below the date. Counterfeit pennies are rare, especially for modern coins, but it's always important to examine the details carefully. Next, look at the surface. A genuine coin will have consistent texture and color, while a fake might show unusual patterns or inconsistencies. Weight can also be a clue. A standard modern penny weighs about 2.5 grams. If your coin feels significantly heavier or lighter, it may not be genuine. Magnification is your best friend. Using a simple magnifying glass, you can look for signs of doubling, cracks, or other unusual features. These small details are often what separate a common coin from a collectible one. Another important step is avoiding cleaned coins. Some people try to polish or clean their pennies to make them look better, but this actually reduces their value. Collectors prefer coins in their natural state, even if they show some age. Now let's talk about some fun and surprising details. Did you know that billions of pennies are produced every year, yet only a tiny fraction ever become valuable? It's a bit like searching for treasure in plain sight. Most people handle pennies every day without a second thought, but collectors know that every coin has a story. Another interesting fact is that the Lincoln Memorial design on the back of the penny actually includes a tiny image of Lincoln's statue inside the building. It's incredibly small, but with magnification you can see it. This level of detail is one of the reasons the design has remained so beloved over the years. Also, despite being one of the least valued coins in circulation, the penny is one of the most collected. People of all ages enjoy searching through rolls of pennies, hoping to find something rare or unusual. So why do collectors still love the 2006 D penny today? Part of the appeal is accessibility. Unlike rare coins that cost thousands of dollars, a 2006 D penny is something almost anyone can find. It makes coin collecting approachable and exciting, especially for beginners. Another reason is the challenge. Finding a high-grade or error coin requires patience, attention to detail, and a bit of luck. It turns an everyday object into a small adventure. There's also the historical connection. Even a modern coin like this represents a specific moment in time. It was created in 2006, passed through countless hands, and now might be sitting quietly in a jar, waiting to be rediscovered. Collectors also appreciate the idea that value can be hidden in plain sight. It reminds us that something small and seemingly insignificant can turn out to be meaningful or even valuable under the right circumstances. As we come to the end of this story, take a moment to think about the coins you've handled recently. That 2006 penny might not look like much, but it carries history, craftsmanship, and the potential for discovery. And who knows? The next time you check your spare change, you might just find a coin that others have overlooked. A coin that turns an ordinary moment into something extraordinary. Welcome back. What if the small, ordinary penny sitting in your pocket right now could quietly hold more value than you ever imagined? Not because it's old, but because of what it's missing. Today, we're talking about the 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that most people overlook every single day. At first glance, it looks completely normal. It's just another modern penny, something you wouldn't think twice about. But once you understand its story, its details, and what collectors look for, this simple coin becomes far more interesting than it seems. The 2015 Lincoln penny is part of a long-running series of 1-cent coins in the United States. These pennies have featured Abraham Lincoln on the front since 1909, making it one of the most recognizable coins in American history. By 2015, the design had already gone through several changes over the decades, but the version minted that year continued the modern look introduced in 2010, showing a Union shield on the back. This shield represents unity and strength, symbolizing the country coming together. Now here's where things get interesting. When we say no mint mark, it doesn't mean something is missing by mistake. In fact, most 2015 pennies were produced in Philadelphia, and coins from that mint traditionally do not carry a mint mark. So technically, a 2015 penny without a mint mark is completely normal. But the story doesn't end there. Because within these seemingly ordinary coins, there are small variations, subtle errors, and high-quality versions that can make a huge difference in value. And that's exactly what collectors are hunting for. Let's take a closer look at what makes this coin unique. The 2015 Lincoln penny is made primarily of zinc, with a thin copper plating on the outside. This composition has been standard for U.S. pennies since 1982. The coin weighs 2.5 grams and has a smooth edge. On the front, you'll see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, along with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the year 2015 on the right. Flip it over, and you'll see the Union shield design. Across the top is a banner reading "E Pluribus Unum," and below that, the shield itself, representing the strength of the nation. At the bottom, you'll see 1 cent and United States of America. So far, everything sounds pretty standard. But here's where collectors start paying attention. Not all 2015 no-mint mark pennies are created equal. Some of these coins were struck with exceptional quality, known as high-grade or uncirculated coins. These coins have sharp details, smooth surfaces, and a bright, clean appearance. When graded by professional services, a coin in near-perfect condition can receive a grade like MS-67 or higher. And at that level, even a modern penny can become surprisingly valuable. There are also error coins. These are coins that were produced with small mistakes during the minting process. For the 2015 penny, collectors have reported errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, and die cracks. These errors are not common, and that's exactly why they attract attention. For example, a double die error happens when the design is stamped more than once, slightly misaligned, creating a noticeable doubling effect on letters or numbers. If you look closely at the date or the word "Liberty," you might see this doubling. To the average person, it might look like a minor flaw. But to a collector, it can mean the difference between a 1-cent coin and something worth real money. Off-center strikes are another fascinating type of error. This happens when the coin is not perfectly aligned during the strike, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted. The more dramatic the off-center effect, the more valuable the coin can be. Now let's talk about value. Most 2015 no-mint mark pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. That's the reality. But when you find one in excellent condition or with a clear error, the value can increase significantly. High-grade examples, especially those graded MS67 or higher, have been known to sell for anywhere from $20 to over $100, depending on the quality and demand. Error coins can go even higher. Some well-defined error pennies from this year have sold for several $100s at auctions, especially if they are unique or visually striking. It's important to understand that value depends on condition, rarity, and demand. A worn-out penny that has been in circulation for years is unlikely to be worth more than face value. But a clean, sharp coin that looks almost brand new could be worth keeping. So how do you identify a valuable 2015 no-mint mark penny? Start by checking the condition. Look at the coin under good lighting. Is it shiny? Are the details sharp? Do you see scratches, dents, or discoloration? The better the condition, the higher the potential value. Next, examine the design closely. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Look for any signs of doubling in the letters or numbers. Check if the design looks off-center. Look for unusual lines or cracks that shouldn't be there. These small details can reveal whether you're holding an error coin. Also, be aware of cleaned coins. Some people try to clean pennies to make them look better, but this actually reduces their value. Collectors prefer coins in their natural state, even if they have some toning or slight discoloration. When it comes to authenticity, the good news is that modern pennies are rarely faked because their base value is so low. However, altered coins do exist. Some people try to create fake errors by damaging coins or modifying them. That's why it's important to rely on professional grading services if you believe you have something special. Now here's a fun fact. Even though the penny is one of the least valued coins in circulation, it is also one of the most collected. Millions of people across the United States and around the world search through their change, hoping to find something rare. It's like a real-life treasure hunt that anyone can take part in. Another interesting detail is that the 2015 penny is part of a modern era where coin production is highly efficient. Billions of pennies are produced each year. That means finding something rare among them is like finding a needle in a haystack. But it also means that those rare finds are even more exciting. Collectors love the 2015 no-mint mark penny not because it's old or made of precious metal, but because it represents the idea that value can be hidden in plain sight. It reminds us that even the most ordinary objects can become special under the right circumstances. For many collectors, the thrill isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about taking a closer look at something everyone else ignores. And sometimes that curiosity pays off. So the next time you get change at a store, take a second look at your pennies. That 2015 coin without a mint mark might just be another ordinary cent, or it might be a small piece of hidden value waiting to be discovered. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. You never really know what you have until you look closely. Because sometimes, the most ordinary coin in your hand can tell a story far more valuable than its face value.